Let's learn some advanced techniques for DIY jewelry making. In this video, we're going to learn how to craft a bead bow. A bead bow is a great piece to add as a centerpiece for any bracelet or necklace. The first step is to measure out our wire. We'll need to cut a piece around 7 inches to make our bead bow. I usually just eyeball it, and it's okay if we overshoot it. We can always cut off the excess if we have too much, but we'll have a harder time if we have too little. To set up our bead bow, let's first pick the bead or charm we want to be at the center of the bow. In this example, I'm using a star charm. Next, simply thread your desired piece through the wire and move it to the middle. It might take a bit of wiggling at first to get it through the wire. When you're done, it should look something like this. Once we've set up the wire, let's pick out 5 small beads to craft the first loop of the bow, which is this part right here. First, take the wire and create a bend in the middle. The bend will be a reference of where the halfway point is. Next, thread the beads through the wire. It should look something like this. To make the loop, let's use our fingers to bend the beaded part of the wire around in a circle. When you're doing this, try to not make any sharp angles and keep the beads tight against the charm at the halfway point. When you're done, it should look something like this. The next step is to secure the loop we just made. On the same side, take the remaining portion of the wire and position it between the centerpiece and the next bead. Make sure the beads are tight and grab it firmly. Then, twist the loop we just created a couple times so that the 2 pieces of wire become wrapped. This ensures our beads are held in place and the loop portion stays intact. Now that we've made our loop, let's finish the rest of the first side of our bow. To create the end of the bow, we're going to need 4 small beads. The first step is to thread the beads onto the same side of the wire. Next, use the remaining length of the wire to create a wire-wrapped loop. Try to make sure the ends of the wire are tucked in and cut away any excess. Now, the first half of our bow is finished and it should look something like this. To create the second half of the bow, we'll need to repeat the same steps we did for the first side. Again, take 5 small beads and thread it through the wire. If you want your bow to look symmetrical, try to use the same beads and thread them on in the same order. Once our beads are threaded, let's bend the beaded part of the wire around in a circle to form the other loop on our bow. Next, position the remaining wire between the centerpiece and the next bead on this side of the bow. Here's what it looks like up close. Now we can twist the loop to secure it in place. It should look something like this. If the tail end of your wire is pointing up like mine, move it such that it's pointing downwards to match the other end of the bow. Next, repeat the same steps and add 4 small beads. If you want your bow to look symmetrical, try to use the same beads and thread them on in the same order. Use the remaining length again to create another wire-wrapped loop. When you're done, it should look something like this. Once our bow is complete, we can use our fingers to bend the wire and make the bow look a little nicer. Now we're finished with making our bead bow. Congratulations! The rest of this tutorial will cover how to incorporate the bow in your designs. To add the bow to a bracelet or necklace, we'll need to attach 2 jump rings to the circular part of the bow. Take an open jump ring and thread it over the wire between 2 of the beads. Next, let's close the jump ring using our tool. It should look something like this. Now, simply repeat the step on the other side. Once you're done, you can use the jump rings to attach it to a wire-wrapped loop on a bracelet or necklace. In this example, I've incorporated the bow into a bracelet that I've made with bead chains. After you get the hang of the technique, feel free to play around with it. You can make the bow bigger or smaller by adjusting the number of beads, and there are countless ways to design the bow. We can't wait to see what you create.